All right, guys, today we are here with Van Applegate of CharlesTown Now, who has been able to really transform a city and their vision online. Thanks for being with us here today, Van.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Tell us a little bit about the genesis of how this happened, why Charlestown, and how it all came about.
Charlestown is my hometown. I live in Charlestown, West Virginia. I work in Washington, D.C., if you're not familiar with the geographic layout. It's about an hour west of the city. And I was looking for a way to connect to my hometown more than just kind of making it a bedroom community. So I just wanted to, find a way to relate and be a part of the downtown core community. It's a small town of about 5,000 people, so it's relatively manageable. I did a quick search online for Charlestown and noticed there was really not a whole lot of a social media presence for the city, its merchants, and anything that was happening down there. If you looked at Charlestown online, the most popular thing that you would find was our casino and racetrack. It's a large casino gaming center, and they dominated the webosphere when it came to Charlestown. And so I really wanted to create a local voice for the smaller merchants and the smaller businesses in town, and I created Charlestown Now as kind of the base for that model, and really just tried to promote any and all things that were Main Street Charlestown, and got some great buy-in after knocking on doors to all the local businesses in town to get their social media campaigns up to where they needed to be. Right. A lot of them were on Facebook, but they really didn't have a Twitter, they didn't have Instagram, they didn't have any of these things. So we went business to business and set up these accounts for all of them, kind of did a 101 on how to operate social media for small business, and reached out to GoDaddy and Twitter for advice on building a social media campaign for these businesses, and the response has been great.
So you start off first going door to door, presenting some sort of package to them, and did you have a site set up before? Were you just doing Twitter? Was there one medium that you guys were focused on to start things off?
Started on Twitter just because it's highly searchable. The idea was to find people that were already trying to mention Charlestown or mentioning the businesses and relate with them one-on-one. By creating a one-on-one dialogue with them, we found that the customer relation approach to social media wasn't so much about blasting out content. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. More so, this person mentioned this business or this person mentioned this attraction in Charlestown. Let's reach out to them, find out if they had a positive experience, what it was they would like to do differently, or share that positive experience with others, creating a real social network.
You talked about reaching out to them directly. Can you explain the step-by-step process of what you would do in that kind of scenario?
Absolutely. It's a little tedious, but it's well worth it. We found to set up a geofence, you type, Twitter really has these tools built in, the advanced search feature. You can type in a zip code and type in relative terms to what it is you're looking for. We came up with a list of about 107 terms that were specific to Charlestown without any sort of crossover or, mismatched something that might relate to somewhere else in the world. So we found 107 terms. We geofenced it.
What kind of terms?
Like Happy Retreat is a historic venue here in Charlestown. If somebody mentions Happy Retreat, they're probably not talking about something else. John Brown, because of the history of our courthouse.
Specific
keywords. Exactly.
Right. So Norfolk, you might say mermaid or navy or things like that. So things
exactly
synonymous to that place, but not to get crossed over by another place.
Right, and we're including the names of these local businesses. So we have a local boutique shop called B Vintage. No one's going to mention these things unless they're mentioning those things. Right. So we go ahead and we just do a mass search for these daily. Sometimes twice a day, and we just find out if they're being mentioned. Sometimes, early on it was maybe 2 or 3 times a day we would have a hit. Now we're upwards of 100 or so mentions of this restaurant, this place, this whatever, and we engage with them simply by either favoriting a tweet, showing that we're here, asking if they, asking how their time was, and we're creating this kind of warm, fuzzy feeling. They're connecting with us not only in person, but we're taking that experience online and sharing it with others, because the best feedback is from people that have either visited or want to come.
Did you create a spreadsheet with all this information? How did you guys catalog all those things?
Well, the beauty of it is with Twitter's analytics. I mean, they do the hard work for you with a simple by purchasing a simple promoted tweet or promoted account campaign for literally pennies on the dollar. You're going to get that analytical feedback. You can catalog or spreadsheet any sort of Twitter data, as well as Facebook. I think Facebook does the same. We haven't really ventured into purchasing anything on Facebook, but we're active on Facebook now as well. I merged with a larger volunteer group called Discover Downtown Charlestown,
Yep.
who was working to do some of the footwork that they needed, the online side for, and that's where that's where we are now. But the short of it is, we took a town that had relatively no online social media presence, and within a year have transformed the way that these businesses operate. This is very much a local small town community. You get that feel, that Main Street.
5,000 people is very small.
Right. And so by promoting each other's businesses online and promoting the social media aspect of the town, it's created the same almost mirror effect in real world scenario. So you have businesses that might not have talked to each other before this are now sharing each other's sales or promotions with their audience to create this kind of go next door atmosphere.
Gotcha. And I'm looking at the site now, charlestownnow.com. It looks like you guys are using the hashtag StartCT. Was that the bridged version, or how did you guys come up with the original hashtags? And
Start CT was just kind of the idea of literally starting Charlestown. Like we had to start from scratch, so we had to start CT, and Start CT kind of evolved into a catch-all for everything. But initially, it was for anything that was happening online that was new. So if Mediterranean Cafe announced that it's now online, it's now on social media, we hashtag Start CT so that we can. Anybody who searches that is going to see where in our online presence is. But today, it's kind of an anything and everything that's happening in Charlestown you can find by searching Start CT.
Now, a lot of people might say that a small town like that might be a little older, and that social mediums are not necessarily the norm. What did you find in that kind of respect? Was teaching people Twitter something that you had to do, or were people kind of up on it already and things like that?
Yeah, I tell the story, and it's a powerful one because it was very much old school. I mean, how do you tell a locksmith or a hardware store that survived the recession and that survived the Walmart coming to town and the Home Depots that he needs Twitter? I mean, Right. He's been here for 25 years. He sells hammers just as good today as he did yesterday. It's about increasing It's about increasing your visibility. And so I showed him the power of a simple search, and he almost thought I set this up. But we did a geofence for locked in, locked out, keys, things that were. He specializes in locksmithing, obviously. And so we found a tweet that happened about 45 seconds to a minute before we did this search, that it was a kid that said, FML, just locked my keys in my car at the Charlestown Walmart. Huh. And I said, let's reply to this guy. And we sent him a direct tweet, right. Or a mentioned tweet to him saying, call Randy at Valley Hardware here in Charlestown, 725, blah, blah, blah. And so instantly his phone rings, and he's kind of like, oh my gosh, and this is the power of social media. People are out there, they're talking about it, they have needs. It's about going to them and meeting them instead of waiting for them to come to you. And it's hard for a small business. They have a lot to do. These are shops that employ one or two people, right. And they're doing everything. And so I'm not telling them, look, this is something you need to sit on top of, but it's something that has to become part of your regular, facet of skills.
What I think what you mentioned though is a lot of people, and I think the first thing you said was a lot of people think it's just blasting out and getting that information. And while I think that in some cases you probably should do that to get general information out there, at the same time, you also should probably be doing that personalizing information as well to or personalizing the conversations with people as well. And
Absolutely. It's a two-way dialogue, right? I mean, we communicate with each other just like we would, you and I are talking right now. The social media aspect should be the same. A lot of these larger businesses, and I think it's kind of tailored for small business, but these things like Constant Contact and MailMonkey and all these things, they're very, very valuable tools. They're viable options for communicating with your audience, but you're doing that one way. These mass mails and stuff like that, and when you're a small business, people come to you because they like that interaction. They like, they like the one-on-one. And so you're taking everything that you do in real world and you're just applying it online in a gentle sort of easy way of doing it is through Twitter or Facebook and what have you. A lot of times we went on our merchants' Facebook pages and there were several questions that people were posting, hey, is this still available? Is this here? And they largely went unanswered. We kind of changed that, got into a routine of spending 5 minutes a day on social media. The reception has been incredible. We've doubled a lot of our page views and likes, and by and large, it's a conversation piece now. It's, hey, did you see what they're doing in Charlestown, as opposed to, what's happening in Charlestown.
Right. So can you go over a little bit about the geofencing search and how one might do that?
There's several third-party apps that allow it, but the most convenient way to do it is right in Twitter itself. If you go to Twitter's advanced search, and I think the fastest, most easiest way to get there is to actually just Google Twitter advanced search. It's going to take you right to the page. It's going to give you a list of search parameters, and one of the first ones is the zip code or location based search. And I think that's the best way to find out what's happening right in your community. Mm-hmm. It's always good to get as specific as possible. I mean, naming a town of 5,000 people, Charlestown, West Virginia, is pretty good. It's pretty easy. Norfolk's a bit larger. If you can go down to the neighborhood level and the zip code level, you're going to find a really healthy kind of cross-section of what people are talking about there. We also use Banjo, which is widely popular now in finding out what's happening as it happens. It's a great app that merges Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Anything that's location taggable, anything that's being tweeted or shared with a location on it is going to show up when you go on Banjo and type in that location. So with one look, you can see what people are Instagramming, tweeting, and Facebooking just through using Banjo. Free app on your phone. And we use that all the time to kind of figure out what people are talking about and interact with people who might not expect to have Charlestown now knock on their door.
So Banjo, I'm not familiar, but I'll look it up. It got me to thinking about something specific. Now there's tools where you can, Hootsuite's a great one, where you can take something and send it out to multiple different mediums with the same message to different things. What's your take on that? Do you or do you not do it?
I don't do it, and I usually tell my small businesses not to. We have a real powerhouse of tools at our hand. I mean, we've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and they're all obviously tailored to be crafted differently. Facebook allows you to have limitless characters. Twitter, obviously, you're limited. So when you send out a message that's 400 characters long and it's cut in half, and then you've got to click on this link, we find that people just don't do that. Mm-hmm. And we did a small sample of just asking people, hey, do you click on these things? Take me to the Facebook link. No, because if they want to go to Facebook, they're going to go to Facebook and read it. I try to tell them, spend a couple minutes on each of these platforms. Tailor your message. It's fun. Have fun with it. This shouldn't be looked at as a chore. This should be looked at as a fun way for you to promote your business. You're already doing it through traditional methods anyway. Just take the extra 5 minutes, send out an Instagram, send out a tweet, get people to talk about you on all sorts of social mediums. The real place where we find that some of those merging of the accounts comes in handy is for a lot of nonprofits that your Meals on Wheels, your soup kitchens and stuff like that just need to get the bulk message out and might not have the viewers on multiple platforms to tailor to. But I try to tell my small businesses, look, get on all of them and interact with them uniquely.
And what I think is really interesting and about social is that you can do it from anywhere. And so right now you're in your home office, and does your dog need to come in?
Actually needs to go out.
So,
yeah.
but but you can be having a conversation right now, right? And so
Yeah.
while the person doesn't have to be at their hours when they're here, just like we're having a conversation right now, you can be having those online conversations at home. And whether or not they're an online or not business, or an online or a brick and mortar, maybe they're kind of a hybrid, they can still be having that kind of interaction. And so I think that's a great tool where you don't just have to, like before, physically be there or receive a phone call. Now you can get that information and provide it with them at any given time.
Well, we have a lot of antique shops. This is a great example of what you're talking about, right? That survived for the longest time on people coming in through their doors and seeing what they have. If they like it, great. If they don't, it's kind of an experience. With the social media aspect, you can tweet out a specific item that you have, and almost instantly somebody say, hey, I didn't know you had this, or they share it with a friend. And a lot of the business now is going out the back door. So it's a sales tool, it's a promotion tool. These are, this is small business in the 21st century now, and I don't want to say that I, single-handedly brought these people online. That's not the case. It was just a matter of utilizing some of the skills that I've seen in working with news for the last 10 years, plus, the millennial aspect of, look, you can do this and we can help. So sure. It's been fun.
So I think maybe about a year ago, 6 months ago, Twitter actually came calling saying, how have you done what you've done? What was kind of that situation like?
Well, it was actually an article that was written first in Small Business Trends. They wrote an article that said that talked about what we did with the GoDaddy site, which is still kind of in flux. Your website is kind of your torso, and your social media is kind of your arms and legs and of how you communicate. But they were talking more about the GoDaddy site that we created, and Twitter, I guess, took a look at the data pertaining to the actual location that we're in, and said that they had a spike in activity like they had never seen before. Kind of just wanted to know if I was using a third-party aggregate or some sort of automatic tool.
Right. Are you a bot?
Yeah, am I a bot? Yeah, and so obviously I wasn't. I just told them, look, I sleep 8 hours, I work 8 hours.
I'm in Applegate, and I am from CharlesTown, West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly, and I've got very little else to do, so here I am online. But no, I mean it's. I don't want to say it's become a case study, but we've had other towns in America since that article came out contact us and say, hey, we want to do something similar to what you're doing. Iola, Kansas. Several other towns. Ripley, West Virginia is getting on board. We've got a lot of other small towns that kind of are within our population zone that would love to do something similar, and that's really exciting to think that, hey, this is kind of the way it's going is kind of cool.
Well, you're a very progressive internet user.
I use a lot of internet.
A lot, and so. Anything else that we missed, maybe that someone that's trying to grow their social brand might want to do? Yours is more community-based, but you've worked with a lot of small businesses, a lot of different businesses, and you've been able to get kind of that national attention where other people are trying to get that. Anything that you might want to say to those people?
I would say work with each other. When you're a small business, you're only as good as the business next door, because it takes I guess it's cliche to say it takes a village, but it really does say something that if you're helping your neighbor promote something, there's a really good chance that somebody's going to walk out of their door and walk into yours. So I encourage the building of a network, not just online, but in person also, and to try to really figure out ways to work with each other to build the neighborhood that your small business is in. And if you're a standalone shop and you're working, selling most of your product online, the theory is the same. Find like businesses that might tailor themselves a little towards what you're doing, and partner. Build those partnerships.
Yeah. So find more people like you, or in kind of the same ballpark, and pitch each other, preach each other, and so that you can grow them together. Love that.
Yeah.
So CharlesTown Now, it's CharlesTown, TOWN now.com is the site. The Twitter is at CharlesTown Now. How do people find out more information about you?
Oh gosh, they'd have to email me or something. I don't have a whole lot out there. They can follow me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at VBAGate. That's VBA GATE. And like I said, I tweet a cross section of what I do 9 to 5 working in the news and my Charlestown stuff. But
Well,
it's been fun.
Charlestown is very lucky to have you, and very much thank you for the time today. A lot of good insights on ways, and I think at the end of the day, it's really about still having that individualized and personalized communications. And just because tools can be blasted out doesn't mean that that's the way that you should use the tool.
Absolutely. Make it a two-way street. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Van.